Okay, now we're going to review finding the slope from points. A lot of you had expressed that you were having problems with this, so I'm going to do a few extra examples. You really need the formula, which is m, or slope, equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, but I'm also going to show you how this actually works, or why this formula works. So what we're going to do first is look at, and I'm actually going to be doing this problem right here. We're going to use negative 1, 3 and 3, 4 and find the slope between them. If I was going to graph them, which I already did, here's negative 1, 3. Oops, I've got negative 1, 3. And point B is 3, 4. So if I actually have them graphed, and I would draw a line through them, okay, then I could find the slope between that line by drawing my triangle. So if I drew my triangle, I would go up, and you'll notice this is up 1, and then I would go right, and every big box is 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and my slope would turn out to be 1 over 4. Okay, but if I don't have a graph and it's not already graphed, instead of actually drawing out a graph, I can look at how can I find the difference between these 2 points. So I want to see, how can I figure out that 1? Now, I gave you the formula, and if you look at that, okay, if I look at my y's, I have a y here of 3 right here, and a y over here of 4. So what's the difference between them? So what's the difference between 4 minus 3? Okay, and the difference is 1. And then if I look at my x's and say, what's the difference from here to here? Because that's what this number is, this 4. It's the difference. How far did it go? So if I look at the difference between those two, 3 minus negative 1, the distance, or the difference, is 4. So this is the reason why this slope formula works. So what they do, or what it does, is take your 2 points and label them. We'll label this x1, y1, okay? And then our second point, 3, 4, which is x2 and y2. So now I'm going to plug into the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'll take my y2, which is down here, 4, minus my y1 up there, 3, over x2, which is labeled at the bottom as 3, minus x1 up here, negative 1. Notice we put them in parentheses because I don't want to get confused. 4 minus 3 is 1. Let me switch color for you. 3 minus negative 1 is 4. Okay? So this is why this works. It works because of the fact that I'm finding the difference between those 2 points. Okay, so now I am going to do a different one with different coordinates. A is negative 7, 7, and B is negative 6, 4. Okay, you can see that they're graphed like that if I actually zoom in a bit on here. You can see -7, 7, -6, 4. So instead of doing it graphically first, let's first start and look at the formula. So let's do y, or the slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and then I can pick which one is going to be x1 and y1. It does not matter which one you pick. You will get the same answer either way. So we'll do x2 and y2. Right. So when I do that, now I'm going to fill in my formula with what is given to me. So y2 is 4, y1 is 7, over x2 is -6, x1 is -7. And you can use a calculator. 4 minus 7 is -3. -6 minus -7 is 1. So my slope is -3 from my formula. Okay. If I did this graphically and I draw my box, so what is the difference from x2 to x1? Well, if I count, it is down 3. And then if I count over, it's over 1. So my slope is -3 over 1, which is -3. Okay, so that's a couple of the examples of different slope problems. So there are cases when I will end up with a slope of 0 or a slope of undefined. So when exactly does that happen? And the different scenarios that I'll have is something like this. Say I have the points, let's say I have the point 3, -6, and 6, -6. Okay, so when I do my formula, and same thing, I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the y's. -6 minus -6 over 6 minus 3. -6 plus 6 is 0 divided by 3. And 0, any 0 divided by any number is 0. So I can have a slope of 0. Okay. When I have a slope of 0, it's actually a horizontal line. So that's one case that you'll see. The other thing that you'll see is when I end up with something with 0 on the bottom. So say I have those 2 points. And same thing, I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. So when I fill in my equation for slope, do y2, -4, minus y1, 5, x2, 2, minus 2. So I end up with -9 divided by 0. Well, you can't divide by 0. So that dividing by 0 right there is probably going to give you an error on your calculator. So since you can't divide by 0, your slope would end up being undefined. And undefined, the only line that's undefined is one that's vertical. Okay, because I'm not going uphill, I'm not going downhill steadily. An undefined line looks like a big cliff. Okay, so those are the two scenarios. If you have a 0, it's a horizontal line. Okay, so if you think about walking and skiing, you're just walking. You're not going up, you're not going down, you're just going that way. If you think about a vertical line, if you're walking or skiing, it's impossible to do. You would fall right off of it. So that's why we say it is undefined, or one way to remember it, and also because you cannot divide by that 0. Okay, so hopefully that helped with slope. The ones that are on Delta Math are just like the ones that I just did for you. You're just going to fill in the equation. You can use the calculator at the top to do any of them. If you end up dividing by 0, 5 divided by 0, okay, it's going to give you overflow, which means undefined. Okay, so I hope that helps with your slope. Let me know if you have any more questions.